Hi, I'm a Nigerian lawyer and novelist. Presently, I am pursuing a doctoral degree at the Center for Human Rights, University of Victoria, South Africa. The role of indigenous storytelling in Nigerian queer rights advocacy. Today, I'm speaking to the topic of the participatory visibility of queer persons in Nigerian nations. And this is more along the lines of locating the value and importance of queer people as active citizens in our society, particularly in a place like Nigeria that is globally homophobic African countries. I'll begin with the definition of a few terms, first of which is participatory visibility. This joint term is made up of two words, participatory and visibility. And for purpose of this discussion, participatory is seen to, or is deemed to describe involvement, joining, and being cited. So for purpose of this put together, participatory visibility, as used being understood or perceived or recognized as being actively integrated in daily survival. So it's that into the queer discourse is recognizing and engaging with the importance and the value of queer people, of Nigerian queer people, to the daily survival of fellow Nigerians in Nigerian society, reverberates to the rest of the world the importance of queer people and queer citizens globally to the survival of the world. Other terms that I would also like to discuss are that give, further give context to the title. Terms like coloniality. Coloniality is, as used here, means not so much the existence of colonialism, but the legacies of colonialism, the negative legacy of colonialism, such as homophobic laws or norms, patriarchal sentiments among people. Also, there is the term cultural intimacy, which is really recognizing that there are things about a people that, although considered shameful and detestful, are really central to how emotional workings of their identity. I'm also going to refer to the term of the single story popularized by Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, where she calls on on people, on the world generally, on communities of the world, past stereotypes. And there are things that are made so popular that they seem like the only truth that exists. As you see, that the danger of stereotype is not untrue, but they are incomplete. In that vein, also, I want to. There's a term writing back, distilled from the memoir of Professor Chinua, where he talks about the role of the African writer as one quite pegged in responding to colonial oppressive narratives of colonial subjects, right? Because for a very long time, what we know and what we believe about ourselves as Africans or queer has been shaped by the mainstream discourses, mainstream narratives. So it's really engaging with those narratives, critical lens, and being able to look past them to what is really to what is the multi-layered and more complex and more nuanced of the truth. And Chicha said something interesting, where he mentioned that writing is very complete until written back to colonial narratives is prepared, produced, and disseminated in a way that it is done in the earshot of the world. So in other words, being our in our response or rebuttal to oppressiveness and to homophobia, it should be done in a way that is accessible to the mainstream as well. Having considered these terms, I want to now go to indigenous ways that people have been known and discussed to be integral to survival in Nigerian nations. Start with, we start with three major ethnic groups in Nigeria, or three major nations in Nigeria: the Igbo, the Hausa, and the Yoruba. The Igbo people have seen the participatory visibility of queer people in that in the workings of the society long before now, long before we knew what this name for being queer was, or label for being queer was, or long before we had our anti-gay laws. Is the Ikpo title. Now, the Ikpo title is a title usually conferred on women in the southeastern parts of Nigeria, and women who have been seen, or women whose prosperity has been deemed to be evidence to being blessed by the universe, by the deity, Idemili, and it's usually with evidence of, farm prospers, or her business prospers, or her wealth prospers. So the community comes together to confer on her a title, a privilege for other women. And one of the privileges that is accorded to a bearer of the Ikpo title is she gets in male meetings, right? And her voice heard on an equal plane like that of a man or a male member of the community. Also, has to give away female members of the family in marriage, which is usually the sole prerogative of male members of the family or the community. She has to receive the bride price on behalf of the family, which is also a solely male prerogative. And more interestingly, for the Ikpo title is that the woman who bears the Ikpo title has the right to take on a wife, to take another woman as a wife, to bear children who will then carry her own last name. And there's no discussion around the woman to woman marriage among Igbos is not so much evidence of same-sex erotics or same-sex relations. It is evidence to same-sex parenthood and same-sex nurturing in the family. In a conference on Igbo culture and Igbo Igbo, I think a few years ago, Chimamanda quizzed this practice, and she wanted to reject the existence of same-sex relations between women in the marriage, perhaps the marriage of an equal woman to an equal woman. But things like sex and intimacy have been known to be private business, right? Says, who is to know, right? Who can tell what happens behind closed doors? This equity practice, although found in the history and relics of what were observable in early Nigeria or early, it's also important to know that these records were taken by colonial researchers who themselves had an agenda, right? And we speak of coloniality, the retention of colonial legacy, as well the retention of colonial erasures. If, for instance, this practice, the equity practice, was recorded by a cisgender heterosexual Christian white man, of course he will erase the expressions of the rights that do not agree with his own faith. Perhaps he would even ignore things that he doesn't understand. Another practice in the Igbo tradition, linked to tradition, is the Abaco cult, which is referred to exists in Brazil, founded by slaves of Igbo origin. Now, the Abakwa cult is said to have solely male membership, and the men are prescribed from having same-sex relations within themselves or among themselves, but they are allowed to have same-sex relations with members, with other men outside of the Abakwa cult, provided that the partner who is an Abakwa member remains the dominant penetrative partner in intercourse relationship. Moving closer to more, well, not so recent, but closer than pre-colonial times, is the personality of Arias Carter. Now, Arias Carter was, well, he was born male, and before Nigerian Civil War in the 1960s, worked for the government. After the Civil War, Arias Carter emerged as a female person, dressed in female garbs, and carried on as a female performer. And she was known as really being what we call isiowu, that's hair made into threads to look like very stiff dreads. And she would tie double fabrics on her waist like a mature or married or titled Igbo woman would do. And she walk around with her thumb piano. This piano was she would usually use this to entertain royalty or entertain people for a price, of course. And she lived quite freely, openly, and she made money as Arias Carter. Recent times, there have been the practice of other men, or mostly Igbo men, taking on the persona of taking on female persona for commercial purposes, and this isn't frowned on. And these women taking on, and this male born on female persona for commercial purposes have been used to push forward the agendas of telecom companies like Glo in Nigeria, to promote other products. One of the popular male-born people with a female persona is Kenzie Udosin, if I'm not mistaken. Now we take on the persona of or the stage name Anya Bagana, a woman from Ghana, and she will usually say, when she's wearing a persona, she will usually say, "Oh, I'm a woman well-traveled," and she will speak in a mix of Igbo and English, right? And moving up to Yoruba nation, we still have the Ade priest. The Ade priest is a male-born devotee and a male-born priest who as the closest in line to deity in the Ifa or Yoruba faith. Now, his male-born priest is understood and accepted as the spouse of the gods, as the spouse of the particular god or deity that this male-born priest worships. And in a situation where these deities have, masculine energy like Shango or Oshosi, it's often seen that this male priest is the wife of the god or the partner of God, but in a sort of hierarchical manner. And there's a big disparity between what this translates to in Yoruba and what it translates to in English. So it's not really a very accurate translation. But I think it's important to note that it's a very, very intimate relationship between this priest and the deity which he serves. And also, the gender expression of this priest evolves from being mostly masculine before he's ascending that position to now mostly feminine. Priest is wearing the iro and the buba and having his hair in braids or in locks, which is characteristic of the Yoruba woman. Also, the Ifa deities, the Yoruba deities, we see that some of them have been known to have very very complicated gender identities and sexualities. People like Shango have been known to switch genders. people like Oya, is it Yemoja, who is considered in Brazil as patron, opportunist deity of queer people. In the Hausa tribe, in the Hausa nation, which is mostly located in the northern area, there's the interesting, very, very interesting group referred to as the Yan Daudu. Now, the Yan Daudu group has been known to dominate the hospitality industry, running hotels and restaurants, helping us with cooking and doing other jobs, which the female-born person would ordinarily not be allowed to do. The adult, being a male person taking on a female persona, is allowed to take on these roles, to cook in public, to be seen in public, to have to escort men in public. The adult is also closely linked to Bori cult. The Bori cult have been discussed as the indigenous faith of the Hausa people before the advent of Islam in Nigeria. And this Bori cult was understood as a social political insulation, not just for gender-bending people, but also people who are considered outcasts, or people who are considered too free, in quotes, to be part of the conservative society. Nonetheless, these young Dauda members of the Bori cult have been known to operate restaurants and host events and serve as, very important members of the community, of the Hausa community. And some of them have gone on to become breadwinners of their families, fathers, children. And even when they remain military, they continue to be decent and continue to be very productive members of the family. Now, the Ekwe, the Abakwa, the Ereskata, Ade priest, the Ifa deities, the Andaudu, all evidence that although queerness in Nigeria is largely claimed as un-African, un-Christian, un-Nigerian, stepping outside of the norm, living and loving and expected of cisgender heterosexual binaries have always been part and even integral to what the totality of the Nigerian identity. And to say that it is not, is simply inaccurate. It's simply things that history has been known. It's really of the things that history has recorded, and people now know more broadly. Sometimes we've had very out and proud queer people, the likes of B.C. Alimi, Pamela Ade, and Bobrisky, who have come to love and live and express themselves quite openly, quite freely. It's important that the society increasingly takes cognizance of the possibility of the relevance of people to the survival of the Nigerian society, not just because of inclusion, because of the economic survival of the country. Year after year, many queer people leave the country to greener pastures where they can themselves, further draining the continent, draining Nigeria of very, very important and valuable human resources. We have tried to foster understanding of participatory visibility in Nigerian continent by hosting the first African Virtual Pride last year in August. The process of that Pride is still on our YouTube channel, Pride of Freak, and on Twitter. I've also I've also attended with my doctoral work, looking at the role that storytelling can feel in the writing back or the reclaiming the humanity of queer people, particularly in the context of mainstream and mainstream classrooms. So the more we understand that queer people are part of the human race, are part of the functioning Nigerian society, the faster we move forward as a country. Thank you very much. Kat?